Alright guys, what's going on? Wanted to sit down here and give you a recap, a breakdown of the Bassmaster Kayak Series tournament on Lake Havasu that just wrapped up last weekend. I had a great showing at the event. I ended up taking second place. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about and how I got this guy. Anyways, but yeah, it was great to have Bassmaster come back out west. There was 111 anglers that showed up to the tournament. Shout out to all anglers that made the trip out in some of the toughest fishing conditions of the year. I'll be talking to you about what I found during practice, pre-fishing the week prior, as well as my game plan going into the tournament and what led to me taking second place. Following video, the next video after this will be me on the water fishing the tournament, showing you exactly how I caught my fish and what I experienced during the tournament anyways. So for the conditions going into this tournament, the week prior, it was super windy, it's cold, you know, it's winter. The tournament was January 18th and 19th. I mean, it's snowing here in Utah and the lakes are iced over, so I'm just glad it wasn't snowing down there anyways. So, but the highs, the air temps were around 60 in the afternoon and the lows were like low 40s, basically right at 40 degrees every morning. So that put the water temperatures right at around 50 degrees. It was, my Lowrance unit was saying 51, 52, and then it warmed up to like 53 degrees later in the week when the weather calmed down and the wind kind of stopped anyways. But you know, it was winter fishing. The conditions were tough and it made it rough for a lot of anglers that weren't or didn't figure out a bite anyways. There wasn't a lot of people that caught fish or caught a limit both days anyways. Fortunately, I was able to get 6 days of practice. We traveled down the Saturday before, the weekend before, and made the 9-hour drive down there and then started fishing Sunday through Friday essentially. So I had a whole bunch of time to see pretty much all of the lake. My NK300, my Newport motor, that made it easy to run around the lake. I probably covered around 10 miles a day anyways, well over 60, 70 miles on my motor and my kayak this past week, and man, it was a grind trying to catch fish in general. So with that being said, the first day of practice was the worst winds of the week. I decided to run up the river. It was the only day that I actually went up the river to see what was going on up there. I caught 6 fish that day. It was a good day. I figured out how those river fish were setting up and where I might be able to go back to them in the tournament. I only caught, it was like a high 70s bag, probably 78, 79 inches. So it wasn't a super good day compared to what I was catching in the lake throughout the week. The rest of the week, Monday through Friday, I spent on the south side of the lake and moved north. I pretty much just launched at a different place every day. That second day, Monday, I actually found where I was going to fish during the tournament. I didn't know it yet, but you know, it was looking good. With that being said, I mean, we were just covering water, essentially looking for fish. Kept searching for a school, something relating to bait fish or something like that, fish schooled up that I can maybe go target these fish in a certain area, but that kind of didn't happen. Besides the one area that I did find that had bait in it schooled up and whatnot, but they weren't, I never found fish actively chasing a ball of bait besides striped bass, which is not what we're after in the tournament. Only really catching fish that like here and there, like I catch one and then I have to keep going and find another one on a different point or a different part of the lake or whatever it may be. You know, I was fishing mainly main lake structure. These fish are in a winter pattern. Access to deep water seemed to be key for the spots these fish would be on, but I was catching fish that were up shallower in, say, less than 15 foot, most of the time less than 10. And catching them on reaction baits, you know, still moving my baits at a slower pace is what I found to be the best. You know, jerk baits, you know, it's roughly, you know, a 3 to 5 second pause, and dragging a jig, dragging a chatterbait, and just slow rolling a swim bait, whether it be a 3.3, 3.8 Kayak is what I was using anyways. But yeah, so I was still moving around, but I was working my baits at a slower pace. That's how I kept getting bites. I just had to keep hunting for that next fish anyways, because I'd catch one on a point or in the back of a cove or on a secondary point, a transition bait, somewhere I'd catch one, and then there wouldn't be another fish sitting there with it. They'd be roaming in pairs or small packs and you'd catch one, and by the time you got that fish back in the water and started casting again, those fish had already moved on. So I had to keep searching for another fish. I sitting down and staying on one spot was not how I caught my fish. I didn't have any success doing that in practice, so I just kept moving until I got my next bite. You know, essentially almost junk fishing with a handful of baits that I had confidence in and I caught fish in practice. And in a nutshell, that was my pattern. The fish weren't super active. They were wanting to chase down a bait in the right situation, whether they were just hunting for food or up shallow roaming, but they definitely weren't gonna like run after a bait going by them super fast. They wanted it moving slow. It was in their advantage to come up and eat that bait, but they would still come up and eat it and chase it down as long as you presented it the right way. A lot of guys thought this might have been a, you know, a scoping, a active target, live scope tournament anyways. For me, that really wasn't the case. I had it on almost 100% of the time, but I feel like somebody, if they figured out the same pattern, they could do it without live scope, because I was essentially just running down the bank until I found my next fish, found my next active fish that was willing to chase down my lure and eat it. That I had my active target on so I could see what was in front of me, but I wasn't actively casting at a specific fish. I did see a couple fish follow, and that gave me confidence that there was fish in the area and likely I would get a bite, but I wasn't specifically targeting fish with it. I was just using it as a tool to see what was in front of me. After looking at pretty much all the lake, I covered a ton of water. I did decide to go back down south for the tournament. It was the only area that I found bait fish schooled up in, and it was the area of the lake that I caught a limit in a more concentrated area anyways. So I felt like there was a higher concentration of fish in a shorter distance, and I could, you know, fish more effectively through that area and feel like I was going to get, you know, a limit. Now that I've kind of ran over what I found in practice, day one started off great. Lines in was at 7:30 on Saturday, and I caught a fish the first cast. A lot of people might say, dang, that's a bad luck, you know, because a lot of times you catch a fish on the first cast and then go forever without catching another fish, and I've been there. But this time I knew it was a confidence thing for me because I knew that the fish were still in the area. So started off great. I filled out a limit by like 11 o'clock, and there was quite a few other anglers fishing the area. So I didn't spend much more time in that area, and then decided to run across the lake to a secondary spot that we had found some fish in as well. And I did catch 4 fish over there, caught a couple small upgrades, but ultimately only upgraded about a ½ an inch anyways. I caught, let's say a 15.5 that upgraded a 1/4 inch, and then later the last fish I caught over that area was a 15 3/4 for another 1/4 inch upgrade. So upgraded a little bit over there with those 4 fish I caught, but nothing super big anyways. But it helped. I'd take anything I get. I had a limit in this tournament, and a lot of people weren't catching fish. After the first day, only like 10 people caught limits, so it just proved how tough it was. I know going into day 2, it was going to pay off to be consistent. Even if I only caught a small limit, it would still put me up there in the standings anyways. So going into day 2, I didn't change my game plan. You know, I caught 12 fish the day before. That was the most amount of fish I had caught in a single day throughout all of practice. So I'm like, well, I don't really have a better plan to go somewhere else. Went back, same area of the lake on the south end, and started running the same game plan. Going down, you know, the bank, lurking the transition banks, the points, the bluff walls, all the rock in between everything, and caught 4 fish by like 11 o'clock noon anyways. And it was more difficult fishing on that second day, whether it be from the pressure, the wind calmed down, and it was a very calm day. There was hardly any wind. It almost felt like my area was more stagnant, and I was grinding it out to try and catch that 5th fish. I did run across the lake again trying to pick up another bite, but it almost seemed like more striped bass moved up in that area than anything, and I didn't get another bite over there. Ran back over for the last hour and a half of the tournament to that primary area. Had to talk myself out of running to a completely different area of the lake that I only had caught a couple fish in, and just to see if I could pick up a fish, you know, essentially just running my pattern until I found another fish. But I moved back across to that area of the lake that I caught most of my fish in, and because I knew there was likely more fish there. There was a bunch of fish moving through. But you talk about a mental game, trying to figure out what's the best decision and sticking to your game plan and not doing something crazy anyways. I think that decision there to go back to my main area anyways really helped, and I did eventually catch my 5th fish and an upgrade. The last 30 minutes of the tournament, it was like right at 301. 30 minutes left in the tournament. I hooked into a 17.5 and filled out my limit. So it was a grind till the very end to get that limit, but we got it. I did end up culling out at 12 3/4 with the 15 3/4 for my 6th fish of the day anyways. So end of the day, pretty good. I mean, I ended with 81 inches. On day 1, I had 82 inches, so I had 163 inches total. I knew I was going to be in the mix of it. I didn't know what those other guys had caught. I knew, you know, some of them filled out a limit. They would move up higher in the standings, as well as if they upgraded, you know, they could pass me well. But I knew I'd be sitting good, have a good finish, so I was excited to go to awards. Everything fell into place essentially after that. Drew Gregory did great. He put it all together essentially. He caught a little bit bigger fish than I did and ultimately pulled away with the win. And you know, that's just how it goes. I was taking every bite I could get and was just hoping for the best that maybe it would work out. But I ended up taking 2nd place in the tournament, as you can see here anyways, with this nice big blue trophy I got sitting next to me. But so it was a great tournament, great start to the season, some good points for AOY, as my goal is to take top 5 in AOY in this series. This is the start of my season. I have essentially 4 more tournaments on the Bassmaster Kayak series that I'm planning on fishing. I was supposed to be on the way to Florida right now. Due to the truck having issues, I decided to stay home and cancel that trip, and I will end up fishing my next tournament on the series in Tennessee at Dale Hollow Reservoir, and then in Oklahoma, and then we'll finish out the season with fishing at Lake Champlain in New York, the West Coast Championship in California, and then finish out the Bassmaster season at Toledo Bend in Texas, Louisiana border anyways. As well as some local tournaments, some bass boat tournaments, some kayak fishing Utah tournaments anyways, but we'll see kind of what we jump into throughout the year. I want to give a huge thank you to my friends, my family, my wife especially, for putting up with me throughout the fishing season anyways and letting me go into these tournaments. My sponsors, go check out sixskillfishingproducts.com if you're looking for a new rod or reel. Those are the rods and reels that I use day in and day out. I've been using them for the last 3-4 years now, and they've stood up to my abuse anyway. So they're great rods, good reels. Check them out. Go click on the link in the description and use my code KaymanRasmussen40 to save yourself 40% off on anything that is not already on sale. I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely go check out my next one. With all this being said, I hope you maybe learned something. If you have any questions about anything, let me know in the comments. And then maybe on the next video, the next tournament recap, I'll be sure to include that and maybe answer some of those questions that maybe I didn't answer here. Wrapping everything up, I thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe if you did, or if you just want to see more content like this from me. Stay tuned for the next video, and we'll see you guys on the water.